Hello, and thanks for joining me on another episode of Zulf Talks podcast. Today, we've got something a bit different for you. We're going to be looking at some benefits of podcasting and streaming for your business. And we're going to cover a few points in this. And I have got a guest as well today. And my guest is going to be bringing something to the table because they've done a bit of gaming. They also got multiple podcasts that they're part of. So we're going to use them to find out how this is something that can benefit different types of businesses. It doesn't have to only be a gaming channel or someone podcasting about true crime. It can be something that you can give information about your businesses about. So I'm bringing my guest in and he's going to introduce himself. So hello, Jared. How are you doing?
Doing good, Zulf. How about yourself, my friend?
Yeah, good. I just had a few of these, so we're slowly speaking to loads of amazing guests. So thank you for joining me today.
You're welcome, man. You're welcome. I'm excited to be here.
So give a bit of background about yourself. You've got podcasts, Feathers and Friends, The Evil Mark Show, File Under Entertainment. You've got an amazing YouTube channel that you create a lot of gaming content with. I love your thumbnail with the parrots, by the way. That's amazing. The
You're
best
welcome.
pets
Yeah,
you have.
yeah. You'll probably hear them chime in here. But
Awesome.
yeah, Feathers and Friends is my main podcast that I started like almost 3 years ago. And then I basically streamed to YouTube for quite a while and I got roped into two other podcasts and now I basically do all three of them.
Wow. So you must love podcasting or speaking, I should say.
Well, on File Entertainment, I do a lot of the back office stuff. Like I just hit record, I play all the music, I do a lot of the editing. But the people that listen to it like it when I chime in, so I don't talk nearly as much. But yeah, it's pretty fun.
Okay, that's interesting. So I'm hoping during this episode we're going to be covering a few points. So I'll give some information about points that I think are valid, but then I'm going to hopefully use your expertise, especially with how your background is, maybe around the editing side of things, how if someone makes a podcast, what they can expect that needs doing to that podcast to make it worthy for listeners, example. So some of the things I'm thinking of is with the current situation, a lot of people are working from home. They've adapted already. They've got laptops and they're doing a lot of conversion from home. So a lot of my listeners will be doing some aspects of this already, where maybe they're attending Zoom meetings with their boss and stuff. But they haven't really delved into the full use scenario. So if I was to say, for example, a podcast can increase if you have a website for your business, it does really well having a little block there with someone speaking.
Hmm.
So when someone comes to the website, it look like, oh, wait a minute, these guys know what they're talking about if they're doing a podcast about it. Still in these, it's not early stages, but in this point in time, people still look at podcasts as something special, like a radio show. Like, oh, wow, he speaks on a podcast. So it's got that bit of extra view for people. How do you feel about that?
Um, for me, podcasting is something that's kind of semi-different because it's either I've noticed you either love it or you hate it. Like my girlfriend, she hates podcasts. She thinks it's the dumbest thing in the world. So like thank God she doesn't listen to a lot of what I do. But then there are other people where you're like, hey, I'm part of a podcast. Like, oh, what do you talk about? What's the show called? They always want to check it out. And so it's kind of like that movie recommendation or that, the recommendation that a lot of folks will take. But yeah, I've noticed that if you have a podcast about something, you typically know what you're talking about, and either someone's going to listen to you and say, "Yeah, I get it," or they're going to be like my girlfriend, just not care too much.
Hmm. I think, yeah, you're right there because a lot of people would tend to make podcasts about things they're already passionate about. So it tends to show when they're talking that it's actually they're
Hmm.
talking naturally. Like, for example, today we're having a conversation and it's as if someone is listening to us is just joining the team and they're just sitting with us having a chat about what we think would help people in terms of podcasting and streaming. Especially, for example, yourself, you stream and you make videos online about gaming as well. So you must love that, and you have a multi facet on that because you've got the technical side of it where you're improving your ability to get better computers, looking at what works well for better frame rates and games not lagging, etc. So it's
Hmm.
always amazing to see that. But I think first tip that we covered there is it increases your appearance and your perception to people. So if you're currently listing and you've got a small startup or you're starting a business, this is something to keep on your radar towards the start of it, because if you can do it during the starting, you can simply podcast about your journeys, similar to what I'm doing. On my podcast, Zulf Talks, we basically talk about my journey working in an office from 9 to 5, setting up my company, and basically we talk about everything in between. So everything you need to do. Oh, today I needed to get a hard drive because I ran out of space. Needed to get a network attached storage. So all these little things that you don't really hear about, but when you've got a podcast, you can share it. It's like a diary, and who wants to listen? listens and they find some amazing tips. Because some podcasts I've listened to, I was like, oh yeah, everybody said you can get a gaming PC and stream. But listening to this podcast, this guy explained why you get a certain graphics card over another one, and you learn a lot of things. And because they have that background, you're more likely to trust them because they're doing it. So, for example, for yourself, I can see you've got an amazing PC setup behind you now for streaming. I'm imagining you've slowly built up to that, and you've taken some time. Can you tell us a bit about your setup there?
Yeah, it's a 2080 Super with basically it's a whole MSI and Asus setup. I kind of sinned in the world of gaming where I bought a pre-built and then I kind of parted out certain things to get it better. But yeah, basically I started with a very low-end PC with a 1080 Ti and then I slowly worked up to the 2080, which is like a workhorse. But yeah, you learn a lot. One of the guys that I always like to throw out there is Linus Tech Tips. When he first started in the industry of the technical world, it was this tiny little setup where he would just talk about something new that his store got him, right? And then he would just continue to build and build, and those little segments coming from like your Target or your I forget Micro Center, which is a big computer place. You're like, oh, this is coming from the people I'm about to buy from. It can be very, very beneficial. But yeah, I've slowly enhanced my pre-built into kind of more of a custom PC to help with my needs.
Yeah, so I'm assuming there's certain budgets that you have set in place. So, for example, when you first buy a PC, you've got like a standalone, and as you do things, you're like, actually, this isn't working well. Maybe I need to do this upgrade, and then you get to a point where the knowledge you've built up is amazing because someone new coming into it can just start from where you got to and be like, you can skip all this bit because I was playing about and testing stuff, but I know this works for this game, for example. So that's always good to hear. So the first point we've covered nicely. Another point would be in terms of benefits for business would be things like podcasts can help you growing your audience as well. So as you speak about things, you'll slowly get people in the similar mindset who are in similar challenges. So for example, I may be like, you know what, I'm listening to the podcast. This guy's bringing something good to the table. If I want to get to this point in time where he is, I want to start streaming with my computer. I need to get a computer similar to him. And then I might reach out to you and say, you know what, where did you get it from? What's the best price? And you might be like, well, actually, you know what, there's certain deals on at the moment that I notice when I'm buying them. So you actually end up saving money for your customers and it becomes more like a little bit of a family because you're helping each other, right?
Mhm. Yeah, that knowledge base, expanding the knowledge is the biggest thing. Because when I first started with PCs, I had no idea what I was doing. I would actually reach out to a buddy of mine by the name of Alex, and he was my introduction. I was like, "Hey, Alex, what do I need for this? What does this do? What does that do?" And now it's gotten to the point where he's actually asking me, "Hey, Jared, I'm upgrading. What is this? What is that? What can I do to increase this?" And honestly, a lot of your time is going to be spent on like Reddit. It's going to be spent Googling things. Like Google is your best friend. Literally, if you don't know the difference between one graphics card and another, just Google like, 1080 versus 2080 Super. And a lot of the websites will give you nice little graphics. And that's where you can learn a lot of your information. And then when you can put that into nice bite-sizable chunks with a podcast or something like that, then when you reach out to the audience, Zulf, it's super easy because I've done all the research and then I can say, hey, this is why you should get a 2080 instead of a 1080. And all of a sudden that 30 seconds is done. And you're building that trust as well as your fan base.
That's good, I think, because you're going through the journey now. So, for example, say if there's a new company starting up and they're planning to do like a stream, nothing too fancy, maybe just streaming like a head talking shop. Maybe they've got like an accountancy firm or they're doing some offering advice, like financial advice, and they just want to have a 1080p camera stream so that they can get to the customers and do Zoom calls. Is there like
Mhm.
a certain base rate that they should look at where they can just go out and buy a certain PC that would be a good point to start off so that they're not having to do the whole upgrading because they may be too busy for that, or they could pay
Yeah.
someone to give like that information. But is there like a good starting point about that?
Honestly, yeah, there's a really good starting point. If you take a look at like even if you go onto your Facebook Marketplace, and this is maybe more of a US sort of thing, but where people can buy and sell locally. One of the biggest things that I've noticed is that there's always those super budget friendly PCs that folks have out there that you can get for a couple $100 or quid or pounds or whatever you guys use out there. And as long as you get like a 1080 Pi, 1080 60 FPS webcam, it'll work except okay, yes, yeah, the Facebook Marketplace. And That's super simple and easy because just running Zoom is super simple. It's super easy. It doesn't take up a lot of bandwidth. So I would highly encourage you to buy the Zoom subscription because I've noticed it's very low on your PC end. It's very easy to run. And then OBS Studios, which you and I are both using, you can get that 60 FPS as well as since you've got a nice camera. And then a very, very cheap, good microphone that I would actually highly recommend to anybody is the Blue Snowball. Black Ice is the one that I got, but it's made by Yeti. The Blue Snowballs are really good. It is a USB, which is kind of more of a sin, but it's super cheap. It comes in very inexpensive, and it's a great starter. Yes, that's actually the one that I ordered. It's like $50, and I'd highly encourage you to get that one to start off with, just because it's got good sound quality as well too as it's super simple. You plug it in on both ends, good to go, and then you turn it on with OBS, and next thing you know, you've got a podcast to start off with.
Wow, that sounds great. You made that sound so easy.
It,
If you're
it's a
listening
little
right now,
easy.
if you're listening right now, those are the main steps. He's right. I think getting those main things sorted out. After that, you'd have those little moments where you plug something in, the levels aren't right, so you'll start doing some research to find out why is this not working. And if you're listening at the moment, we are sharing some of the things we're talking about on screen. So if you're unable to make it, you can actually watch a replay of this show on the show notes. There will be links to the actual video format. If you're watching on Spotify video, they have started allowing podcasts to have video, so you can actually see us now at the moment. So that should help you. Otherwise, there will be details in the show notes about some of the things we're talking about, especially the microphone suggestion, which is a great one. It's not very expensive and it gets you started. So if you're in this business and you're looking to do something, just getting something out there, I'm assuming first, is going to be a good thing, and you can slowly progress and get better as you look at other markets and other areas. So I think that's one of the challenges that people have, and because we've offered a few options, that would help them to get into this arena, especially if you're podcasting or streaming for a business. In addition to that, you're going to generate some credibility. So people around the office will be like, actually, you know what, this company's talking more about this subject. They're getting guests on who have more knowledge and they're sharing their knowledge as well. And that makes the whole brand look better. So obviously letting you know that we're a company, we do X, but we're not perfect at everything. We have got other people that we work with, and that helps everybody in that area find the right people and make up another team. And I think brand awareness as well. So as you do podcasts, you have your branding on each of the episodes. You can have your logo, your company morals, your values, and people that come to your website for your business that will help them out as well. Especially like you can see right now, Jared's got his gaming top on.
Yeah, brand awareness is real big. But one thing that I want to mention is off about guests because I know this is super important. A lot of the times when I have guests on, or maybe you yourself have noticed this, I'll get like 4 or 5 people that are like, "Yeah, I'll come on your show," and then by the end of the week, I'm down to one guest is maybe showing up. So don't ever get discouraged that folks aren't showing up. I mean, I've had some amazing guests who are really, really big, and I'm kind of a small to medium, podcaster and YouTuber. So don't be discouraged when it comes to guests. It's going to happen. It happens to the best of us. I guarantee Joe Rogan himself has had folks drop out of a podcast because they're just like, whatever, Joe, I don't need you.
Yeah, I think that's a valid point. So with these types of situations, you will get similar to like meetings and things like that. People have other things come up priorities, so they can reschedule. But during this stage, if you have a robust system in place, it helps minimize that. So, for example, I put out a call out on a great group on Reddit, and they allow you to have podcast exchange of people. So, someone in your similar field can come onto your podcast. You can have a conversation, share information about what you think works, what doesn't work, and people book in time. So, I've set up a Calendly and I simply send it to them and say, you know what, if you can't make it, let me know a couple of hours in advance. We can reschedule for another time. And luckily, fingers crossed, out of this 7 or 8 people that we've had so far, they've all turned up. I've got 8 more booked next week. So far we're doing well, but I'm sure I'm gonna have one cancelled now that I've said that.
You're right. Calendly is actually what I used. I found it as a free app, and what's really great is it works with iOS as well as Android. And literally, all you have to do is link in your calendars. And so when you send somebody your Calendly link, you can actually set up your calendar that says I'm available from time X to time Y. And people can choose slots. They send it. It actually sends a free update to your calendar as well as their calendar that says, "Oh, you've got podcast with so and so at X, Y, and Z time." And it's phenomenal. Calendly is I would highly recommend it to anybody who's getting just started. It is one calendar for free that you can use too, so saving you money down the road.
Definitely, and it's worth mentioning we're not sponsored by them, but I think we should be. We've given them like a massive plug there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they made it very easy for you, and people that enjoy it will end up buying the paid plan. So I think Calendly will end up making the money. So in terms of how we use it, and just if you're listening, that's CAL for Lima, Cal, and then ENDY. It will be in the show notes. Calendly is like a funny way of spelling it, but yeah, it's a great place. You can basically put in your availability, and the best thing about it is if you're in different countries, it automatically sorts out the time zone for the other person so they can book it in their time, but you know you're both there. Otherwise, I'm like, am I 5 hours ahead of you? Am I 4 hours? Because I'm quite stupid like that. Sometimes I'll be like, oh, you know, I'll lose myself in the time zones. But that's done amazing for me. So it's worked out well. So if you're during this process of setting up a live streaming podcasting and you plan to get guests on your show, definitely look at the tools out there. There's loads of places that can help you make it a lot easier and smoother. So otherwise you'll end up spending a lot of time and then you have to hire another member of staff just to work that out. So there's a few
Hmm.
pros and cons. And you can share information immediately because in podcast, if you've got a setup ready, for example, a laptop, a computer with a microphone, you can simply go, and if some breaking news happens, you can create an episode giving out information on your podcast, which then goes to everybody, and that will show that you know what, you're first to the scene and you're helping your existing people that are subscribed with information. So that's a great point for podcasting. You're not going to look at it as a business mind. I think you should look at podcasting as like a helping mind. If you look at it that I'm helping people that like the subject I like, the business comes automatically off the back of it. So sometimes if you've got an accountant and they're saying, you know what, it costs you about $1,000 or pounds to set this all up, it's not a good business decision. You should be like, you know what, we need to budget for helping our customers and then look at it in that way. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. And you establish yourself as a brand industry expert, which comes off the back of that. That's some of the main points that we've got for you. So if you've been listening so far and you're a business, I'm hoping this helps you in this environment. We're going to cover a bit more now about Jared's setup and process and how he podcasts, a bit about his editing, the tools he uses, just to help you understand once you've done your recording, what else is there to come after that? Because there is an additional bit of work which you can either A, do to enhance your podcast, or just let it go out as it is for the interim until you get to a point like, okay, we need to spend time on editing, making it sound better, those things. So in terms of your workflow there, Jared, what would you say is some key things that you would look for in maybe your streaming video or your podcasting that you would definitely like recommend doing?
With streaming, I would highly recommend you to get a good internet. That's just bar none what you need for streaming. Because if you want to stream at 60 FPS, which is what a lot of streamers do to get good quality, is you need about 6,000 kbs is I think what it is, or something around those. So make sure that your internet has a good upload as well as a good download, so you can play your online games as well as upload, as well as a good signal strength. Because if it's kind of intermittent, like Charter sometimes is with me where I live, it can have a little bit of interruption, it can lag out, and you can just think you're streaming for 30 minutes and you're not because everything is so bad. But yeah, that would be my one main thing for streaming, is make sure you have a good solid internet. I would always Ethernet in, never ever ever do Wi-Fi, always hardline in. That has been a key staple for me in gaming for a long time.
Yes,
With
it's worth adding
editing,
to that. Sorry to
yeah.
interrupt you. I
Oh, go
normally
for it. Go ahead.
I have like mind being so I used to use Wi-Fi a lot, and then I looked at the speeds and I was like, you know what, it was giving me a problem. I thought it's my computer, and then I looked and did some research on Reddit, and I found a network switch, bought a cable from my router, put it into my switch, and now I'm plugged in. So now I know that's like a massive improvement. So if you're thinking about streaming, the best thing you can do is, if it's video or audio, even if you're live streaming, you can actually get a cable plugged in, and that makes a massive difference from my personal experience. So you might not need to get a new computer; it might just be the internet speed. So always do an internet broadband speed check before you live stream to see what you're actually getting. So definitely, Jared, that's a great point. Sorry I interrupted you there.
No, no, you're fine, dude. That's perfect. That the reiteration is another big thing for businesses. If both of your guests, if you, the host, and your guest can say yes, do X, Y, and Z, that lends credibility, and you build value there. But for editing, I'm kind of always cheap because I started this like just by myself. Parrot Gaming Productions was literally just me with my dumb face thinking, what can I do here? And what I ended up doing was I found some free programs that work super simple, super easy, but also are really great. Lightworks is a good one. Their logo is Lumini Shark. It's very simple, very easy. It puts out 720 pi videos at best. Or if you want to go high end and really dive into like some hardcore editing to where you can put out some amazing stuff, DaVinci Resolve. It's yeah.
I
See,
use
Zulf
that.
knows.
Yeah, I use it.
Yeah.
I've paid for it. I've got the paid version now because I can use my graphics card to export.
Yeah. I got the paid version too. That 2080, it's been a grinding away.
Yeah.
So hopefully I don't burn it out. But yeah, DaVinci Resolve, like you can learn a lot. And honestly, there's a couple of YouTubers out there that will give like if you don't know what to do, if you can find like a 3 minute video from a lot of YouTubers, you'll find some guys that put out those 2 to 3 minute videos where they're helpful tips. YouTube is going to be your best friend when it comes to something like that. So
Definitely. Okay, I think looking at those options there, we've already covered a few points. So, in terms of your daily process, are you currently working on any projects that you're excited about or something you can share with us?
yeah, I'm doing a lot of NFL Madden simulation stuff. Yeah, I know that the London games are really big where you guys are
Mm,
at, and my buddy of the Evil Mark show that I'm the co-host on, we do a fantasy football league, and then I actually exported that into Madden 2022, and I'm running a simulation to see how well our teams would do. And we're just kind of seeing what's going on there. And that's kind of fun. And then Escape from Tarkov is a game that I've been playing here recently, been having a lot of fun, a lot of silly moments where I like to clip it and send it off. That's what I'm kind of mainly working on right now.
So, do you reckon at the moment with your setup, would you need to upgrade anytime soon? How far do you think you're good for? How many years would that be okay for?
I mean, I'm probably good for another 2 to 3 years, to be completely honest with you. But I'm going to upgrade. Oh, you better believe it. In about 6 months, I'm probably going to find a better graphics card, a better power supply to run that graphics card. Yeah, it's going to
Okay.
happen.
And in terms of storage solutions, what are you using at the moment? Are you like really hugging hard drive spaces? Have you got a separate server setup or anything? Or are you just keeping it simple for now? Okay,
This little bad
lazy.
boy here, a 2 terabyte. That's one of three other external hard drives that I have. I have a 1 terabyte SSD, which is where I actually store all my games so I can run things faster. And then I have another 2 terabyte that actually is part of the PC. So storage. And then
Yeah.
always make sure you have backups because when I switched my case, I actually had a bad plugin because I think I wiggled it a little too much. And so somebody actually just helped me replug it into the next one and it worked just fine. But that's why you always back up your data, just simply because you never know if it's going to go kaput.
That's it. I picked up a NAS Synology NAS recently just for that purpose, and I've got a bit of RAID set up on there. So I've
Yep.
got loads of because we work on multiple projects. There's loads of stuff that I've had to transfer onto it, and I might end up getting because I've got another office. I might put another Synology in the other office so I can back up this one to that one offsite backup, and then yeah, it's just you'd be surprised how much storage you use.
Backups upon backups. You're always good to go.
But I think it was a nice show today. Thank you for taking the time to speak to me.
Hmm.
And you had some great points. Is there anything else you'd like to add? I think we've come to a nice solution end now.
Yeah. I mean, if you like random Reddit stuff, check out Feathers and Friends. If you like NFL football talk, the Evil Mark Show. And if you like music, File Under Entertainment.
We put all of that in the show notes as well, so you can nicely click through that and get through it. So I'd like to say thank you to my guest Jared today. And this has been another episode of Zulf Talks podcast. And I will see you on the next one. Thank you very much and see you next.